borrowed time. I woke up gasping for air, my lungs burning like I had been drowning. My heart pounded violently in my chest as my vision adjusted to the dim, sterile light of a hospital room. The rhythmic beeping of a heart monitor was the only thing cutting through the heavy silence. My body felt wrong, weak, like I hadn't used it in days. I tried to move, but a dull ache rippled through my ribs, sharp enough to make me wince. Where was I turned my head slowly and saw in 4 lines snaking into my arm, a clear bag of fluids hanging above me. Panic settled in my gut. Then it hit me. The accident. Blinding headlights. The deafening screech of tires. The sickening sound of metal twisting, shattering glass, and then nothing. I was supposed to be dead. A nurse entered the room, her face lighting up with relief, and she saw me awake. "You're finally up," she said softly. We were worried. I swallowed, my throat dry. What happened? She hesitated. "You were in a car accident. A really bad one." My head throbbed as flashes of that night tried to surface. "How long have I been here?" The nurse gave me a careful look. "You've been unconscious for 2 weeks." I blinked. 2 weeks? That was impossible. It felt like I had just closed my eyes last night. My body tensed as a deep unease settled in my bones. Something wasn't right. The nurse checked my vitals and left, and soon after, a doctor entered with a clipboard. He explained my injuries: concussion, fractured ribs, some minor internal bleeding, but what struck me most was when he said the words, "You're incredibly lucky to be alive." Lucky. I didn't feel lucky. When my mom and dad arrived, they held me like I had been gone for years. My best friend Jake stood at the foot of my bed, his face strained, his eyes darker than I remember. "Dude," he shook his head, his voice thick with emotion. "I thought I lost you." I tried to smile, but something about the way he looked at me made my stomach twist. I had known Jake my whole life, but there was a distance between us now, like he was keeping something from me. Still, I brushed it off. I was just overwhelmed, disoriented. At least, that's what I told myself. But when I finally got home, everything felt off. The first thing I noticed was my apartment. It looked the same, but little details were wrong. My books were arranged differently. My favorite coffee mug was missing. A jacket I didn't recognize hung by the door. I picked up my phone, eager to check my messages. As I scrolled through them, my pulse quickened. There were texts from people I didn't recognize, names I had never seen before, but they all talked to me like we were close. Then I saw the date. I stopped breathing. It was 3 months later, not 2 weeks, 3 whole months. A sickening dread spread through my chest. No, I whispered, my hands shaking as I flipped through emails, calendar events, photos, desperate for something to explain what was happening. But the more I looked, the worse it got. There were pictures of me at places I didn't remember going. Conversations I didn't recall having. New routines, new habits, an entire life I had supposedly been living, but I had no memory of it. I felt like I was losing my mind. I rushed to call Jake. When he answered, his voice was tense. "Hey man." "Jake," I breathed. "I need to ask you something." A pause. "You finally figured it out, huh?" I felt a cold shiver run down my spine. "Figured what out?" Another pause. Then, softly, "You're not supposed to be here." My stomach dropped. "What the hell does that mean?" He sighed, his voice heavy. "Look, I didn't want to say anything, but after the accident, you weren't supposed to wake up. The doctor said you were gone. Dead." I gripped the phone tighter. "But I'm alive." "That's the thing," Jake whispered. "You came back, but you're not the same. People see it, feel it. The way you talk, the way you act. It's like you're you, but different." My mind raced. "That doesn't make sense." "Listen," he said, his voice urgent. "There's something else. After the accident, I saw you. In the hospital. But not like you are now." "What do you mean?" Jake hesitated, then exhaled shakily. "I saw you die, man. I saw the flatline. We all did. Your parents, the doctors. We mourned you." I shook my head, refusing to accept it. "That's not possible. I'm standing right here." That's the problem, Jake said. The universe already counted you out, but somehow you came back. And now things are different. I looked around my apartment, my pulse pounding. So what do? A heavy silence. Then Jake whispered, I don't think you were supposed to come back at all. His words hit me like a punch to the gut, and deep down I already knew he was right. Something had changed the moment I woke up. The life I returned to wasn't mine anymore. It belonged to someone else. And whatever force had given me back this time, it was only a matter of time before it came to take it.